Hello, everyone. My name is Angelo Minardi. I'm the course instructor for Interfaith in the Classroom at the University of St. Michael's College. And today we have a wonderful, wonderful segment for you. I will be interviewing today with me Paul McKenna and Kathy Murtha. And in a second, I'll be sharing with you a little bit about them. But the purpose of our gathering or of this segment is to have a dialogue, a conversation regarding interfaith dialogue, interfaith education, the Golden Rule poster, which I know many of you are very familiar with. So let me begin first by introducing our two main speakers, and then we'll get right into our questions. First, joining us is Kathy Murtha. Kathy is a retreat coordinator and facilitator at the Mary Ward Center for Education, Spirituality, and Justice, a ministry of the Loretto Sisters in Toronto, Canada. She has been facilitating retreats for adults and young people for over 25 years. Kathy has an MA in theology and specializes in interfaith workshops and dialogue, women's history and spirituality, and contemplative practices. Formerly, Kathy was the director of Scarborough Mission Retreat Center until it closed. While there, she gathered a group of talented artists and facilitators to design retreats based on the Golden Rule poster. She worked for 2 years overseas among the Highland tribal peoples of Papua New Guinea and is passionate about developing a global and cosmic consciousness. And Paul McKenna. Paul, MA, teaches, writes, and consults in the fields of world religions and interfaith dialogue. Throughout his 40-year interfaith career, Paul has received a number of awards and honors. Paul collaborated with others in the creation of the Scarborough Mission's multi-faith Golden Rule poster, which has achieved international recognition as an educational and interfaith resource. He is committed to interfaith networking from local to global levels, and Paul has also created interfaith curricula for people of all ages. Wow, I am humbled by the presence of both Paul and Kathy. Welcome to this segment.
Hi.
So happy you could join us. And again, I am ecstatic. I feel that we have the two best when we look at interfaith dialogue and education. And yeah, let's get right into it. And again, please feel free at any point to take as much time as you need when responding, or even to take us to maybe a place where, you know, we haven't necessarily asked to give us additional information. I want you to know in advance that I'm very thankful that you're able to spend this time with us. And I know that the students and the adults watching will also appreciate the time together. So why don't we begin first we can begin with you, Paul, and the question of what is the Golden Rule? What are we talking about when we say the Golden Rule?
Well, the Golden Rule is the most consistent, most prevalent, and most universal moral teaching in history. And it's found in indigenous traditions, in religions, in secular and religious philosophies, in ethical systems. And just to give you a sense of how many golden rules there are, a few years ago, one of the leading experts on the Golden Rule in the world, he's a professor of philosophy in France, and he published a 900-page volume on the Golden Rule, in two volumes, actually. Here they are. Oh, they're upside down. Wait a minute.
There we go.
Well, anyway, yeah. So as a way of answering your question, Angelo, these two volumes contain 1,200 different expressions of the Golden Rule from ancient and modern sources, as well as from religious and non-religious sources. And I'm going to let Kathy pick it up from there.
Well, I believe that was the inspiration behind the Golden Rule poster, wasn't it, Paul? That this
Sure.
kind of stayed with you. It kind of percolated for a number of years, and you wanted to do something to respond to this thing. And you were thinking, well, we're such academics, let's write a book. But a book remains on a shelf collecting dust. I think your genius really showed when you came up with the idea of a poster, something visual that would have an immediate impact. And that's what you did. And I think it took 5 years working with over 100 people to come up with the design the wording. And it's been described by some people as the simplest, most effective interfaith tool in the world. Congratulations, Paul McKenna.
And I was going to ask you that question, Kathy. I was going to ask you, how was it created? And of course, you've certainly outlined that for us, but 1,200 plus golden rules. I'll be very honest with you. I've only been used to that golden rule poster, so I just imagined that was it. But yet 1,200 plus. Is there any way, and this could be for Paul or Kathy, to describe as best possible what exactly that means? What are like 1,200 plus teach, and then to put it together in a poster, just amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, when you look at it being that grand a scale, how are you able to just create it in the form of a poster, which you see all across our schools, all across the province, really?
Well, let me start and Kathy can follow up. I think what it means, Angelo, is to reflect on the golden rule is to reflect from the perspective of a universal wisdom. What does it mean that this thing is all over history? And then, so just a touch, so having seen a number of golden rules, I thought to myself, this could have quite a bit of power if it was in a visual poster form. And so we worked on it. Couldn't have happened without Scarborough Missions. And a whole bunch of faith groups were involved, and a graphic design genius was involved, Kathy Gillis of Scarborough Missions. Anyway, published in 2000. And I thought it wasn't surprising that it had some success, but I thought, every product has a shelf life and it will, disappear. But that isn't what happened. It just grew exponentially. It's all over the world. It's on websites all over the world. And one of our interfaith colleagues in Africa, who's also a Golden Rule activist, he asked permission to have it, if he could make an African poster based on this design, which he did. It's really the same poster with different colors. And he has circulated 2.5 million copies of that poster around the world. So, big surprise.
Unbelievable. And I just love the design. Somebody once pointed out to me, if you can imagine the earth here in the center as the banquet table, and we are all invited. As Rumi says, there's a table of companionship set and waiting for us to sit down. Right. And to me, that's what the Golden Rule poster provides us with. It was extremely timely. It came out in the year 2000, and it was just on there, published and available just before 9/11, when the world was looking for something that we could come together on, where we wouldn't look at other people that were different as an enemy. And so I think that what sparked it made it come to life. Even more surprising to me is that it arose in the most unlikely of places, a Canadian Catholic missionary organization, Scarborough Missions, founded 100 years ago by a Torontonian priest, Fraser, Monsignor Fraser, and he had one passionate goal, and that was the conversion of China. And so 100 years ago, we Canadian Catholics were all coming together, and some were learning Chinese and being put on a boat. We were going to convert China. That was going to be our big Catholic mission. It's going to put us on the map. And of course, you probably, no spoiler alert here, we weren't very successful. But that didn't mean that the Spirit wasn't working in this Canadian Catholic mission organization. One priest said, we were transformed. We didn't expect that we'd be getting transformed. We were out there to change them, and we met God in their midst, and it left an impact. And over the course of 100 years, this Canadian Catholic community underwent conversion in the face of the other, and the Spirit was working, purifying them so that they could receive the gifts of the other. And so they were constantly willing to be changed. When they left China, the doors were closed. They went to Catholic communities in South America and worked among the poor. And they redefined mission then as economic. standing up for justice and for the poor. And then they came home, and then what's mission now? And it was ecology. The other was not so much over there anymore. It was right in our midst. It was working with the refugees and interfaith. How do we get along?